Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, Red O'Loughlin here on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our live audience, or if you're watching us on YouTube on the archives. Today's show is Talking Heads. We're doing phase 4 out of 6 on pain management. And let me pull up my slides here real quickly. And we'll begin today and get to number 2. I'm a researcher. I'm not a doctor. I've never been associated with the medical, pharmaceutical industries. I'm not an expert in those areas. However, I fell in love with chemistry at a very young age, about 15 or 16 years of age, got a degree in it, was unable to practice that field because I got an invitation to Vietnam. Regardless, I picked my chemistry passion back up about 10 years ago when my wife came down with breast cancer. It forced me out of what I was doing at that time into what can I do to help her with some of the side effects of the drugs that she was taking. So I got involved in looking at the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Chemical reactions require certain things to happen. If you slip this thing in, maybe it goes faster, maybe it goes slower, maybe it stops. If there's something good, maybe we want to have a lot more of the good. Maybe it's something's not so good, we want to slow it down or stop it completely. But if you're treating the cause of a problem, you probably will have some level of success. If you're treating symptoms, you'll always be treating symptoms. You'll be taking that Band-Aid off and putting another one right back on. Pain, like weight and a few other things, is a very individual thing. The same kind of injury, 2 different people are going to have totally different responses. Pain is a complex physiological and psychological experience that serves as it's basically a protective mechanism. It alerts the body that there's something going on. There's potential harm or damage. And the body's autoimmune response is going to jump into action and do things that we feel pain, but that's part of the normal process that the body goes through to protect itself. I'm talking today on pain hacks. A hack is something that is not a typical thing. Like, in other words, let's say you have a headache. We'll take an aspirin. Okay. But you wouldn't be eating a corn on cob. The corn on cob has nothing to do with fixing a headache. But let's say, for instance, that a corn on cob that corn actually provided some health benefit to the brain. That would be a hack. Well, what I'm doing today is primarily from my personal perspective. What do I know that's worked for me? What do I know that's worked for other people? What have I researched? What can I do without using drugs? I got a headache. I don't want to take an aspirin. What options do I have? I certainly don't want surgery. Now, one of the things with headache is that there are so many different causes of headaches that it's kind of hard to isolate what it is. But if you have a headache, and seriously, if you had a headache and it's more than a couple weeks old and it's not getting any better, go see a doctor. I'm not anti-doctor at all. I am here to provide awareness, education, and allow you to be able to communicate better with your doctor about your responsibility to take care of your health. There's actions that can be taken, some easy, some not. One of my brothers had headaches for literally, I'm going to say decades that I know of. He was self-medicating with Tylenol or whatever. Sad to say, he had spent 6 months over in Saudi working for a company. He comes back to the United States. He's back here 2 or 3 days. He's on the phone talking to somebody. Boom, aneurysm, dead before he hit the ground. But he had never seen a doctor, never went in and never have no x-rays, no CAT scans, nothing. What Was he anti-doctor? I don't know. I never asked him. But sometimes things get to a point where if you can do something early enough, you might be able to fix it, might be able to just get rid of it. But I really and truly recommend if you have some kind of symptom, lower back pain, doesn't matter what it is, and it's there for more than a couple of weeks, you probably need to go see somebody. Uh, I want to talk about over the course of this particular session, number 4, and next week, number 5, because I don't think I'm going to cover all these today. But tentatively today, I want to talk a little bit about back pain, carpal tunnel syndrome, tennis elbow, a little bit about shoulder pain, stomach aches, headaches, foot, legs, and hips, something that I've had a fair amount of experience with as a runner, muscle strains, arthritis. There's some information on arthritis that most people have no concept that how chicken soup, for instance, can be of immense value. Your fascia, that layer between your skin and your muscle, if it's out of alignment, can cause a lot of problems. Leg cramps, sunburn, nausea, UTI, constipation, rash, mosquito bite. A typical pain hack for a mosquito bite. Let's say you get bit on your arm. Put your arm under hot water. Turn your sink on and just as hot as you can stand it. Move your arm. That will stop the histamine reaction. Will stop the itch. Will literally stop everything. You'd be amazed. Just a little bit of hot water. I could do the same thing with ice. It's just not as fast. Allergies, tooth, jaw pain, and we may come up with a couple others. Okay, back pain. Again, I look at it, what causes something? If you're going to treat a problem, try to find out what the cause is and then treat the cause. If I'm overweight, maybe the cause is losing some weight to fix it. If I'm in a degenerative deal because I'm 89 years of age, maybe there's not a whole lot I can do. But if it's a repetitive muscle or ligament strain, okay, what was I doing yesterday that's causing this? Well, I was out there doing something or other. I mean, I've had situations where I've loaded the car up with bag after bag after bag of fertilizer or some other compost, and I got to be really, really, really careful with each one. I grab a hold of it and I very carefully lift it out, because many years ago I just go back to the back of the car, grab one, and yeah, of course I was much younger, but I had one where I lifted and turned at the same time, and my lower back just killed me. It seemed like it took 2 months for that to go away. So what is the cause of the problem? If you can figure out the cause, maybe there's a solution. Osteoarthritis, infections, kidney stones, cancer even. Sometimes it's just posture. If you're sitting at a desk all day long, same position, that might be part of the problem. If you're sitting watching TV in the same position, that might be part of the problem. Inactivity in and of itself can be a problem. Imbalance. Lower back pain might be more controllable by being able to control your stomach muscles with better exercise, whether that exercise is some level of crunch or something else. But if the back muscles are imbalanced with the front muscles, you're going to have one muscle group pulling against another. It might become a problem. But with almost every kind of pain we have, the primary key factor is there's just not one cause. And if you can't identify a cause, well, then maybe we start treating something. Did I strain my back? No. Well, I don't think I have osteoarthritis. That's fine. Infection. Yeah, I can treat an infection. That's pretty easy. I don't think it's cancer. I don't think it's kidney stones. Oh, it might be a balance issue. So there are things that we can do just intuitively if we go through a list that might be a practice. So a pain hack, and I basically consider this one a life hack. In other words, I had a mentor a long time ago, and he would say, you want to be wealthy? Go out and find out what wealthy people do and do that. He says, go out and find out what broke people do and don't do that. Well, do the same thing with health. What do healthy people do? Do that. What do unhealthy people do and don't do that? Well, if we can start doing that, what do healthy people do? They exercise, they're active. The foods they choose have balanced nutrition. They manage their stress, they manage their weight, they manage their sleep. Lots of things we can do. And it seems like just about every single show we do here on the USA Global TV and Radio Network on Talking Heads, we have the same solutions: exercise, stress management, balanced nutrition, sleep. The same things work not only for this, but for this and this and this and that and that. It's amazing how one or two sleep. Your body repairs itself during sleep. If you're not allowing your body to repair itself, you're never going to get to that next level of comfort and enjoyment. But getting back to your back pain, let's assume it's a muscle imbalance. Uh, I've had, I'm going to say since the 80s, I've had issues with my lower back. I got to be real careful about it. I get out of bed from sleeping on my stomach. I got to pull my knees into my chest and kind of stretch the back a little bit. But when you're stretching in the stretch of what you think you're stretching your back muscle, you're kind of bent over. That's only a partial stretch. Reverse stretching is taking in, let's say that I'm sitting on a coffee table and my wife has her hands on my back and I'm bent over a little bit. And now I start pushing backwards and she pushes against my back to hold me in place. I'm doing a reverse stretch. I am actually pushing in the opposite direction that I want to stretch a muscle. So if I were to take a look at my thumb and I want to bend my thumb down a little bit, I can't touch my wrist area of my arm. And if all I'm doing is pushing in the direction of my wrist, it's never going to get any better. However, if I push away from the wrist area at the same time I'm holding tension on it, I can actually get to a point literally in less than a minute that I can take my thumb and actually touch it right against my wrist because I'm stretching in a reverse mechanism. So if I'm having some really back issues, I'll have my wife assist me in some of those reverse stretches. Or if I'm having a problem maybe on my right side in the morning, I'll maybe hold just my right knee and then push against me. Rather than stretching the muscle by pulling it toward me, I'll actually push my leg in the opposite direction. So muscle balance is super critical. Sometimes we have a nutritional balance. We might be dehydrated. We might be overly inflamed for whatever reason. Sometimes medications have problems. If you're taking any medication at all, very strongly recommend read the side effects. What is expected? You may not ever see any of them. Hopefully you won't. But if you start seeing something, maybe that's a clue. Maybe that's what the problem is. Talk to your doctor about it. Do you have a family history of whatever kind of pain you might happen to have? Our expectations, what we think should happen, becomes very, very prevalent because our brain is 24/7 going on. And if you want something or need something, that talks to your conscious brain. That's really not helping a whole lot. Yeah, I want, I need. But if you have an expectation, I expect something, I intend, those talk to the subconscious mind. And so as I'm looking at my expectations, I have 10 bags of compost out there. Yeah, I'd like to get them all out of the car today. Well, I get 4 of them out of the car. I'm starting to hurt a little bit. Let me go sit down for a little bit. I really need to get those other ones out. Well, is that realistic? With whatever's going on, if it's starting to rain and I need to do something, that's a different expectation. But if I can leave them there for an hour and come back later, fine. Tune your expectation to what's really critical at the moment. Think before acting on something. We just talked about reverse stretching. Sometimes we need to balance, between the front and the back. If I'm doing some kind of arm exercise and I need to do the opposite way to get that full range of motion. Lots and lots and lots of YouTube videos on pain management, on back pain, lower back pain, emotional freedom techniques. I love them. Just do YouTube, emotional freedom techniques, low back pain, and you'll see many, many ways of using EFT to address that low back pain. Acupuncture. My wife had some shoulder surgery for a rotator cuff tear. The normal rehab didn't work. Got her into some acupuncture, and I think in about 8 or 9 sessions, boom, she's about 99% fully functional again. Hypnosis is a great way of going. Breathing exercises, pranayamas, all great. Lots of different ways. And these work whether it's a back pain or something else. So if you're having some pain and whatever you're doing is not working, look at EFT, look at hypnosis, look at breathing, look at acupuncture. Lots of things that can be done down the road. Carpal tunnel syndrome. This is something that it seems to become more of an epidemic after typewriters went out and got replaced by computer keyboards. And people are asking the question, why? If you're sitting there typing, you're sitting there and you get full range of motion on your fingers as you're typing. And if you look at the muscles in your hand as you're doing a full range of pushing on a keyboard, on a typewriter, you can actually feel those little muscles go back and forth. But if you're just sitting there doing this on a keyboard, what's happening is you're kind of exercising the same muscles, but you're not allowing them any time because the old you had a full range of motion, not full range, but you had a motion. But on these other ones, you get little hot spots that build up, and you end up with issues that now inflame things, and you get down to near a joint, and you have a problem. So it could be the wrist position that you're typing at is too high, big problem. It could be too low. There's certain places, ergonomically speaking, that you want to make sure that you're in the right position. So if you're not in the right position, that might be a problem. You might be bent over too much. You end up with a problem. Your shoulders end up with a problem with your neck. End up with a problem with your back. Maybe even still end up with a problem with your elbows or your wrists. Rheumatoid arthritis. Again, you may be feeling it in your wrists, but again, it's an autoimmune disease. Diabetes. It could be just like a low back pain. It could be a trauma or an injury. Didn't cover that one on the last slide, but you could have an injury to your wrist, to your hand. A lot of things there. Hormonal changes. Lots of things can happen. Overweight. If you're having problems, these are kind of a checklist. Well, did I have a trauma or injury? No. Do I have diabetes? Probably not. Do I have rheumatoid? Probably not. Could I have hormonal imbalance? Maybe. What about my ergonomic issues? Take a look at them and see. This might be a good way to talk to your doctor about, well, this is what I had, doctor, and I can't fix it. In the old days, to fix carpal tunnel, the easiest way is to take a large newspaper, open it up, and then just take one hand, lay the thing flat on the table, and you put your hand in front of you and you scrunch that paper up into a ball. And then you open it up and you do it again. And what you're basically doing is you're getting that full range of muscle into the arm itself, and it stabilizes a lot. So doing that rolling newspaper was something that helped tremendously on carpal tunnel. Stretching, being able to do a full stretch in both directions. Hand strength, being able just to give you that strength. Ironically, grip strength is a very, very, very good indicator of longevity. So if you got, in fact, a good friend of ours passed away a couple of years ago. He's 94. And even at 94 years of age, his grip strength was stronger than mine. Well, I'd shake hands with him, and he wouldn't put a full court press on me, but he had a strong grip at 94 years of age. Nutrition, exercise, stress, sleep, all those things that we've talked about before, they're all part of the equation. Tennis elbow, kind of like carpal tunnel in a way. Again, it's a repetitive issue. You're sitting there and you're doing everything in the same. Maybe you need some kind of brace, maybe some kind of stuff to limit that. It happens a lot more with age than we think of. It's more activity related, just like the wrist issue on a carpal tunnel. So if you treat it kind of like a carpal tunnel, obviously you can't do a whole lot with a newspaper, but ice and heat work very, very nicely. You're trying to adjust those histamine reactions that are happening in the body. Lots of things are going on. Ice and heat are always good initial treatments. Now let's say ice it down 20 minutes, let it come back to room temperature for 20 minutes. If you have a hot towel, you can put on there for 5 or 10 minutes, try and get that blood rolling again. Do that 2 or 3 or 4 times. Lots of things that can be done. If it happens to be something that's swelling up, turmeric is fantastic. Make sure it has a lot of black pepper extract, piperine in it. Lifestyle modifications, maybe you need to give up tennis for a couple months. I don't know. But sometimes when you're doing tennis, you have a shoulder injury because of overuse, something that hit you, maybe you backed in. It doesn't matter. Rotator cuff tears, arthritis, tendonitis, age, lots and lots and lots of issues with the shoulder that are a little different than the elbow, and the wrist, but they're going to limit you a lot more. The rotator cuff tear my wife did, have no idea in the world how she tore it. Now, in many cases, you'll have a bone spur. The bone spur is there all your life, and then just over time, it gradually wears through. So if you have a rotator cuff tear, it's because of a bone spur, not much you can do about it. But talk to your doctor, you get in there, you get an x-ray, that's what it is. Maybe you need to go in there and do a repair. Those are things you have. But if you have tendonitis, let's treat it as tendonitis. If it's arthritis, I'll be giving you some really good information on type 2 undenatured chicken collagen, which does very, very well against osteoarthritis and a fairly decent job on rheumatoid arthritis. Age, can't do much about that. We get older, we just get older. But the rest, the ice, activity modification, in some cases, physical therapy, braces, those kinds of things help. I know when I had a knee injury, I ignored it. In fact, it's kind of funny. I'm sitting in a military base on a bus getting ready to go to Cuba to visit my sister, and I end up really injuring my knee big time. It's about 6 months before my wife and I walked the Camino de Santiago. So for a period of time, it healed itself. We walked 500 miles across Spain in 30 days, come back to the United States. And within about 6 months, my knee starts erupting. It took me about 2 years before I finally went to a doctor. They did all the different scans. Turns out that I had a really bad problem, but it was all caused because not because of any activity. Well, it was activity. I was sitting on a bunch scrunched up with bags against me, and my knees were all pushed in one place for about an hour and a half. Just that constant pull was enough to cause me a problem in my knee. Let's talk a little bit about stomach aches. Okay. Stomach ache could be, it's like a headache, like high blood pressure. There are so many different causes of stomach aches. It could be some kind of gastrointestinal infection. Uh, I don't generally get stomach aches. If I do, they don't last very long. About a month ago, I kind of got this thing just a little below my belly button, and it would come and go. It would be there. It wouldn't bother me sleeping, and it just wouldn't go away. But it wasn't there long enough to say, uh, Marilyn, I need to go see the doctor. I go to sleep one night, and about 2:30 in the morning, I wake up and I'm shivering. I got 103 fever. Get to the emergency room. First thing they do is CAT scan. They found out I had diverticulitis. I got an infection in my bowel, and they treated me with a bunch of antibiotics. Sent me home. Then I spent about a day and a half at the half a day at the emergency room, half a day at a full day in the hospital. But that was an infection in my gut. Never had it before in my life. I've changed a little bit of my eating habits, but again, indigestion that sometimes is in the lower part of the stomach, sometimes it's the upper part. Gastritis, sometimes the GERD, that thing kind of pops back up into our throat a little bit. Uh, Irritable bowel syndrome, constipation can cause a lot of problems. Not getting enough fiber, menstrual cramps, food allergies, big deal, especially gluten. Food sensitivity. Sometimes you have an allergy, but it's not strong enough to be called an allergy. Kidney stones, and many more. There's just so many things that can be the cause of a stomach ache. And again, if something lasts more than a reasonable period of time, go see your doctor. Uh, if something works like lying down and resting, okay, I'm a little nausea, I lie down, I'm fine. Well, the rest took care of it. Don't know what caused it, but the rest took care of it. Maybe I'm dehydrated. Let me drink some water, rest. Okay. Sometimes heat will work. Sometimes cold will work. Sometimes just changing our diet a little bit will work. The inability to keep ourselves nutritionally balanced. If I am really running low on some kind of electrolyte, that's going to show up somewhere in my body and tell me, big flashing light, there's something wrong. Take a look at what you're eating. Maybe your gut uh, flora and fauna are not exactly what they should be. Probiotics and prebiotics. Get something down there that's the good bacteria, feed it properly with the prebiotics. And again, if things are not doing well after a week, 10 days max, consult your doctor. Because after 10 days, after a week, literally, week, 10 days, it's either going to get better, get worse, or stay the same. If it gets worse or stay the same, see your doctor. If it gets better, okay, fine, you pass that hoop. Let's see what we got here. Headache. Headache is one of those ones that I'm looking at the time and I'm thinking we can really probably do a decent talk about this, but I think what I want to do is go on down the road here. I'm going to come back to headache next week because what I want to talk about with the time that I have remaining today is that on Talking Heads, the archives are on YouTube. Go to USA Global TV on YouTube, look at the playlist, go to Talking Heads, look at Reverend Laughlin. And we've covered lots and lots of topics over the last year and a half or so on heart health, on nutrition, on brain health, toxins, cancer, just a whole host of things. We even did one session on artificial intelligence and health. We finished, I think, an 8-part series on cancer, 6 or 7-part series on weight management, lifestyle, lots and lots of things there. Uh, I can be found at redolaughlin.com. That's red like the color, O'Laughlin, OLAUGHLIN.com. My contact information is there. Some of the books you can find on Amazon right now is No Matter What You Can Do It. Talks about the subconscious brain, how we can talk to it effectively. It makes 95% of the choices in our lives. We ought to be able to know how to really truly communicate. The Joy of Ageless Health talks about the primary causes of disease. What can we do about them? Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging talks about the two primary causes of aging and what we can do about accelerating or decelerating the aging process. Understanding the Causes of Alzheimer's is a compilation of over 40 articles I've written on that. And then my most recent book is Author's Guide, basically how to write and publish your book for free. So given that, I'm going to call a conclusion today to Talking Heads, and I will catch you next week, and we'll conclude with the health hacks on how do we address pain. Thank you so very much again, Red O'Laughlin.